the world of chameleons. I'm sorry that this episode took as long as it did to make, and that's definitely my fault. I mean, other projects and stuff, and frankly, just because, it's a little bit more loungy. But now I'm finally getting this out. But if you don't know what Cham Pols is a seed world. A seed world is an alien world that is seeded with Earth life by another intelligent life form. In this episode, we'll be talking about the other biomes that we did not mention in the last episode, and the first one being the temperate forest. One of the first organisms that you might find in the temperate forest is the spotted wing butterfly. The spotted wing butterfly, hence its name, has spots and decoratively parked circles on its wings. Now, these guys do this when migrating during the wintertime to warmer parts. It deters predators from eating them, and plus, it makes sure to give a reminder to predators that they are highly poisonous. On the forest floor, a little critter finds itself. This is the temperate slayer. The temperate slayer is mainly just a bigger, swifter. They mainly climb into the trees and wait until they see prey, then they jump down onto them. They usually like to flip over prey and get to their less armored underside. They're actually quite omnivorous, unlike the other swift terns, eating plants. A next creature that we'll be looking at is the prickle-horned rhinohopper. The prickle-horned rhinohopper is a type of rhino horn that is massive. They have types of edges and prickle-like things on their horn that make sure that it's not an unpleasant experience when they get in their horn. These guys live in herds, but the herds only consist of adults. Because they lay their eggs inside of hollow trees, the nymphs eat this hollow wood as well as moss and fungus. Once they reach a certain maturity, they will then go to live in a whole nother herd. You might find tiny little critters on the forest floor. These critters are very strange in appearance, but what exactly are they? They are none other than the ant hoppers. Ant hoppers, hence their name, have social structures similar to that of ants. And they are descendants from the burrow hopper, which have definitely turned their social into a very hierarchy. These guys, like ants, have multiple forms to help their colonies, to help with infants and gather food and just protect everyone. The first one that we'll be looking at in these little groups is the workers. The workers are actually females and collect plant matter as insulation into their hives to extend them. They also care for the eggs and nymphs inside the hives. They are very common and are one of the smallest. Another one is the warrior, also known as the hunters. They're called warriors and hunters at the same time, so you can really call them whatever you want. These guys protect the queen from the outside of the hive and are the most common when you see them outside. They use the spikes on their feet to scratch and take down decaying creatures. They also do it to attack rival hives and any predators that attempt to attack the hive. They scavenge on carrion and plant matter to bring back to the nest to be fed on. The next one will be the drone. The drone are the ones that are allowed to breed with the queen. They protect the queen on the inside of the hive and will breed with her. They have a membrane on their antennae that, when stretched out, acts like a shield. This prevents many creatures from attacking on the inside to get to the queen. And lastly is none other than the queen herself. The queens are the largest, with a large abdomen to store all the eggs. They mainly just lay the eggs. However, if there's a rival queen, they will fight to the death, similar to some certain species of bees. And the strongest queen will continue on the legacy of the hive. If a queen dies, either one of the nymphs or a worker will become the new queen. But these guys have a weakness, and that weakness is none other than the ant hopper eater. The ant hopper eater, hence its name, mainly feeds on ant hoppers, evolving an elongated snout that sticks to the base of the hive, then sticks their long fleshy tongue in there. They mainly eat the hunters or warriors, and let the other ones survive. However, they also eat workers and drones. They don't eat the queen, as the queen produces the food, and they just don't eat her, because guess what? More food, more chances for survival. Another strange organism on the forest floor is the frilled turtleback chameleon. The frilled turtleback chameleon has a turtle-like back that's comprised of scutes similar to turtles. They're not entirely a shell, but are definitely a means of protection. These guys also have frills similar to frilled dragons that make them look bigger and intimidate rivals and scare off predators. Now we move over to the tropical forest. In the tropical forest, you might find many creatures. This is the megatrunk campusa. The megatrunk campusa has a megatrunk. They're not as big as other campusas in height, but in width. They can be as widthy as 12 feet, making them towering trees. And the first organism that can be found moving across is the elkameleon. Elkameleon are descendants of the durameleon. These guys have specialized hooves for digging up roots. They also eat moss and grass and leaves and fruits that have fallen from trees. They live in large herds and are very loving to their young, and will protect them at all costs. They're usually docile creatures. However, if they see a predator, they'll instantly become way more aggressive and attempt to scare it off, using their large beak to bite. And one of the scary predators is none other than the raptor fowl. The raptor fowl might be a tiny little critter, but it's certainly a deadly predator. These guys hunt like the raptors during the Cretaceous period. They hunt in packs. These packs can consist of 40 to 30 individuals. They coordinate their attacks too and mainly cut off elkameleons like wolves. So they are definitely deadly predators. Another small creature is the jungle thornamelion. The jungle thornamelion is a type of thornamelion that has decided that it wants to live in the jungles and rainforests. So they've become that. They become smaller to make their way against the dense foliage and are actually omnivores, unlike the camellosaur, which are herbivores. And they actually eat baby elkameleons, which makes them somewhat a predator. But they're nothing compared to the predator that hunts at the night time. And this predator is none other than the jungle swift tern. The jungle swift tern, hence its name, lives in the jungles. They have an extended jaw similar to what is found on goblin sharks, and hunt at the dead of night. This nocturnal hunting style allows them to eat sleeping prey, which makes it a lot easier to find what they are looking for. On the trees, you might find a little critter. This is the lemurmelion. The lemurmelion is like a lemur, but they're reptiles. They've descended from the squirrelmelions, which already had a very strange body plan. These guys have a very strange body plan too, and use their grasping, almost opposable finger-like digits to dig into the trees so they can have their young. They still lay eggs, and of course are still cold-blooded. But this very strait might give rise to a very strange order of organisms. We just have to see in the near future. Another creature is the gigapillar. The gigapillar has very large creature, and unlike most caterpillars, they have stingers on their back, which comprised with their antennae they can be found on the backside. They use this to definitely stun predators, as if they weren't already poisonous, and their size intimidating predators already enough. They consume large quantities of vegetation and moss, and once they get to a certain size, they breed, and then die. So after they breed, they usually just die, and gives rise to a whole new generation of these giant caterpillars. Now we move to a part of the planet. A part that's a lot more friendly. Or is it? On the beaches of Cham Pols, a new rise of marine chameleon. This is the crocomelion. The crocomelion has a crocodile-like snout, which is comprised so they can fit their mouth deep enough into the burrows of beach pictuses, and then grasping them with their long tongue. They mainly eat fish, will also eat invertebrates and other small chameleons that they might find on the shore. They have scoots around their tail, which can be similar to that of crocodiles, giving them their large name, crocomelions. Now, the main prey for the crocomelions is the beach pictus. The beach pictus is a very small creature, so you'd have to look close. The beach pictus actually has a niche similar to that of mud skippers, spending a lot more time on land than in the water. However, they still have to go back to the water to breathe, but they can store water in their gills. They dig burrows to hide, and these burrows can be quite deep. They'll then fetch salt water if they don't already find salt water in their burrows. And these burrows can support up to 4 of these individuals, but they have to be wary as crocomelions are near. Now in the waters, specifically the coral reefs, you'll also find some organisms. These creatures might look like fish, but they're not. These are a type of lobster known as the jaw limp. Jaw limp have jaws comprised of their mouth parts moving downward and helping them support it. And their claws have also become part of their mouth. They can open this and close it at will, and they usually suck in krill and zooplankton to make up their entire diet. They don't really dig burrows like their shopsters or limp ancestors, but they make a very strange organism with that. Another strange organism is the bug face. The bug face might look like an insect, but it is in fact not an insect. They have an insectoid-like face and mandibles, but that's just comprised from their claws and mouth parts that have developed to snatch up small fish and invertebrates. And they are quite large and have a very shiny carapace, and they're one of the most discreet predators in these waters. Another aquatic saltwater bug is the kelp swimmer. The kelp swimmer is a very strange organism. They mainly live in kelp forests, however, they'll also travel to the coral reefs just to get a taste of some of their fish. They're omnivores, eating kelp, seagrass, algae, and of course, fish, and even sometimes the larvae or freshly molted invertebrates, grasping them with their prey mantis like forelimbs and eating them with their strong little ant-like mandibles. And this is the coral pictus, the first true fish to make it to the salt waters. These guys are very cuties and actually swim in schools. These schools are fairly large, consisting of to about 50 individuals. And these guys have a similar life cycle, specifically the males, of salmon. Salmon go through a mega metamorphosis when they're males and will become silverish into a greenish red color. These guys also go through a similar change, but instead they just grow red markings around their eyes that goes all the way down to the back of their tail. This is usually around the winter time when they first spawn their eggs. In the rivers of Cham Pols, a menacing predator swims about. This is the shark pictus. The shark pictus has a shark-like appearance and mouth, full of many serrated, jagged teeth similar to that of, well, sharks, giving them their name shark pictus. They swim about in these deep waters and eat about anything that they can find. However, sometimes you might find one with a cut or bite, usually already healed up, or sometimes them still bleeding. That is the mark of a small, sneaky little bloodsucker. And that is none other than the suckerlump pictus. The suckerlump pictus, well, sucks the blood out of fish. They mainly drink cold-blooded creatures. However, if they're desperate, they will start to drink the blood of warm-blooded animals. And they're a very, very strange creature, of course having the niche similar to that of a lamprey. And at the top of the rivers, a cute little critter emerges. This is none other than the duckfowl. The duckfowl has now become a semi-aquatic creature similar to that of ducks, with a flattened beak similar to that. They eat small fish and algae and duckweed. They are very cute, and they might give rise to something with their little webbed feet and flattened beaks, to something extraordinary. Here is the size comparison of all the creatures mentioned today. As you can see, the creatures have grown quite large, and that's only going to get bigger and bigger. Hope to see you in the next episode. Subscribe, and hope the episode 6 is not as long as this one. But be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.